Login accepted.
So I'm not going to be able to see if someone's chatting on Zoom, but if they have any questions, they can kind of email it to me, or if someone's looking at that, then they can let me know. All right, so hi everyone, my name is Fuji. I am working at Coastline College down in Garden Grove. A little bit about myself. I graduated CPB alum 2020. I was in business admin CIS, like much of you as well. I worked in the student data center. I was part of the student security operations center. And then I actually started working at Coastline while I was a student here. So I was working full time when I was 19, and I've been there ever since. Never really found that big of a reason to leave just because they had treated me well. I started just as a cyber patriot coordinator, and that was just to run essentially their cyber patriot outreach program. And then I kind of evolved in my role. I joined the NetLabs project in 2018 just as a support engineer, and then I took ownership of that project in 2022 when the leader actually had to step away for family and health issues. And I have been there since. All right. I kind of envisioned this PowerPoint to just take maybe 30 to 45 minutes at most. There's going to be a little bit of extra stuff at the very end, but I'm just here primarily to kind of list the jobs and give a little bit of background. So about Coastline College, we're located in OC. We have 4 different facilities. I actually work at the Garden Grove Center, and then if anyone who ends up being hired, they will also be working there as well. Our college was founded with the purpose of providing access to college to as many students as possible. So that's distance learning primarily, but we used to do telecourse where we would actually show college courses on the TV. We do online classes, and a lot of our courses actually are online and asynchronous. Coastline College is an NSA DHS Center of Academic Excellence for 2-year programs. I know that Cal Poly Pomona as well is a CAE for cybersecurity research, cyber defense research as well. And let's see, we have CIS, information and computer sciences, and IT courses over at Coastline. We actually have we have a few of our full-time faculty members who have taught here at Cal Poly, and that's Professor Toby West as well as Brandon Brown. I think Brandon Brown might still be teaching here. Toby West has since moved on to be department chair over at Coastline. Okay, so just basic requirements for the job, super simple. We have to be 18 or older. Availability during the week and occasional Saturdays throughout the year, reliable transportation, and then capable of performing basic physical labor, lifting up to 50 pounds. I'm not actually going to test you on that, so if you can't lift 50 pounds, I won't know. That's really just a small legal thing I have to add in. Okay, so there are 2 part-time positions that are available. One, Cyber Patriot Mentor, which is more outreach. You are going to be working on content creation for training middle school and high school students in cybersecurity and related fields. You'll be providing the weekly in-person and remote trainings for said students at said schools. And then you're hosting events for the official Cyber Patriot competition, as well as our own Coastline in-house events that's, workshops, CTFs, RVBs, etc. On the other side, there's a NetLabs project specialist. Basically, it's IT systems admin, maybe a little bit of a DevOps. It's physical maintenance of data center equipment, servers, routers, switches, etc. Maintenance configuration of virtual infrastructure, whatever software we use, supporting or active production, and then support tickets. Students have issues, faculty have requests, that sort of thing. All good. You can see this. Yeah. Cool. So I left student and faculty support tickets, they need assistance, they have requests, that sort of thing. Development of custom content for educational use, that will be virtual infrastructure and virtual environments for class usage, really. Like if forensics, as an example, a forensics instructor wants a specific, software or type of lab, we can create that for them. And then development of custom tooling for our own virtual infrastructure. That's going to be, performance metrics, exporting backups, automation of scaling for our systems, that sort of thing. Okay, so the easier one to talk about is Cyber Patriot. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's a national cybersecurity competition for middle school and high school students. I know that some of you guys may have participated in that. Basically, you just secure server and client machines. You find and fix vulnerabilities. Completing challenges are embedded into each operating system. The competition itself is not very complex or technical. It's literally one OS. They're not connected by network or anything like that. So it's for the most part very simple. And then there is Cisco as well, in the form of a trivia, and then also Packet Tracer, which is a simulated network for those of you who have never used it. Simulated network, you configure routers and switches to connect end devices. So very simple. And then there are also custom challenges that have been introduced that are coming from like Boeing, Northrop Grumman, etc. Those I honestly could not tell you because they change up every single year. The content itself for cybersecurity is, for the most part, simple at first. I would argue that a lot of the students that you're going to be mentoring can probably get to about 80, 70%, 80% of the competition. And then remaining 20 to 30% is kind of like a little bit more advanced. And unfortunately, for those of you who know, Cyber Patriot does not really give answer keys. So we don't know what to target and we don't know what to develop in terms of content to help our students. So we have to just get creative, see what the students want to teach. Oh, well, sorry. See what the students want us to teach and develop content for that. Okay, so as a mentor, again, just to give a little more detail, content creation, you're doing the full range of anything between OS navigation for the students who have never done anything like this before, to firewall security, that could be ports, services, just the scopes of in and out, and then also managing and securing services, FTP, file servers, etc. You're going to be making PowerPoints, how-to guides, virtual machines. We mimic the competition as much as possible. We develop answer keys as well as a scoring engine even. So that's one of the other long-term projects that we have for Cyber Patriot that requires a little bit more coding as well. And then we have our own workshops and in-house competitions, just depending on what we want to show the students and train the students on. So again, CTFs, RBVs, etc. Live training is a big component of this. This means that you will be actively engaging with the students, actually teaching them either in person or remote, depending on what the school needs. We have, I believe, 13 schools right now in OC that are competing with us. And because of that, we kind of have to have a larger mentor force, especially to tackle, scheduling conflicts, flexibility. And while you guys are there, you'll be doing a one-on-one session, as in one mentor to one school. And you essentially have to tailor make whatever content the school requests. Now, obviously, we have all of our pre-written and pre-developed training materials that you can follow along. And then eventually, at some point, the students will say, hey, we kind of understand a lot of this. We need to learn how to do this. And then that's where you will kick in and figure out, this is how to teach that certain topic. And then aside from that, the hosting position or hosting aspect of the position is just prepping for the events. That's hardware, software preparations on site, making sure all of the computers have the correct VMs and materials that we need, curating the content for the competitions, and then providing tech support during. So simple enough, you guys won't have to worry about like event planning, that sort of thing that falls on me and one other coordinator. But aside from that, actually running the events, that's what you need. Okay, so Cyber Patriot schedule, season officially starts in like August, September, and it ends in March. There's a few official rounds that we actually support. So that's practice round, round one, training round two, state round, and then semifinals. That's 5 events. Those Saturdays, we do require to be on site because we host them in person at our facility in Garden Grove. However, I will say that all of those Saturdays are predetermined by Cyber Patriot, not by us. We just follow along with their schedule. And basically half year in advance. So I kind of, expect a little bit of flexibility here and there. And then we have a few other Saturday events. We have about 2 to 3 workshops per year, some in person, some remote. And then we have our in-house competitions, CTFs, RBBs that we will be hosting as well. And those will typically be on Saturdays, also in person. But once again, those are decided months in advance. We have to prepare for it and everything. So you won't be caught off guard. Hey, I need you to come in on a random Saturday. Mentoring for one-to-one for schools typically starts in September. It just depends on when the school itself wants to start. It's typically 1 to 2 hours per school weekly, based on availability of the clubs themselves. The time frame is typically between 2 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. That's not 3.5 hours total. That's just their normal availability, which is right after their school session. Okay. All right, so any questions specific to Cyber Patriot for the time? How do I check? Yeah.
You said that for the position, one of the sort of like more development heavy and one goal was to develop a scoring engine to help, I guess, like for the practicing of what the tasks they have to do, students have to do Cyber Patriot.
Oh, it's Harding, yeah.
I believe there's some open source scoring engines that developed by other teams or groups that the Cyber Patriot past. I think there's something called CS or something from Del Norte High School. I just thought I tried using those that might be helpful for that.
Yeah, so how do I say this? Before Del Norte actually got their massive start in Cyber Patriot, I know that they've been a strong competitor in the competition. We were kind of already working on our own scoring engine prior to that, so we already have something developed. I have not taken a look at what their solution is. I might have to now. So thanks for bringing that up. But in general, we do have our own solution. I'm going to decide whether or not to continue to develop ours or just adopt another one that might be better. But we can decide that while we're taking a look at all things.
What the scoring engine?
It is a responsibility that you can take if you become a mentor. Any other questions? Depends. Yeah. So that is one of the in-person aspects. Again, that's like once a week per school. And I do my best. I understand, obviously, everyone here is a college student. You guys are busy on campus as well with events and stuff like that. I try to be as flexible as possible. I try to schedule in, mentoring sessions when most available or, not interfering with any of your college events and courses. Sorry, what? For the Saturday competitions, yes, but not for the actual training sessions.
Oh, you guys have had
We've always had weekly training sessions. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Go ahead.
So you mentioned about scoring stuff for training. Would that go with that? That's what you're talking about. That specialist, is it kind of like you'd be communicating with them a lot, and just kind of
Cyber Patriot and NetLabs are 2 separate projects, and technically you can apply for either position or you can apply to be in both positions. However, the scoring engine project for Cyber Patriot does not have anything to do with NetLabs. Yeah, that helps. Basically, it's a project that is specific to the Cyber Patriot program. we wouldn't be using that in the lab side. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Okay, so NetLabs. NetLabs is a system that allows students to practice cybersecurity, IT, networking, forensics, etc. With hands-on labs 24/7 anywhere you have secure internet on most devices. It's similar to a PAS, honestly, but I don't really like advertise it as such because it's not cloud-based, and we kind of have to do a lot of restrictions for the kind of materials that faculty may request for their classes. All resources are hosted on our end, on our servers. So honestly, most Chromebooks, tablets, low-end computers work fine, which is kind of great for equality and equity. So all of the content is sandboxed and secures. There's no direct internet access. Now that obviously creates a few headaches here and there, because how are the students going to compete, or sorry, not compete, how are the students going to practice? Well, they have to have predetermined labs set up prior. We developed that in our custom pods. I'll explain more about customization, custom pods after this slide, but just kind of a brief overview there. So our NetLabs hub is including the colleges that are listed here. We may or may not have more in the future, just because we are essentially selling our resources and services out to different colleges. And as of right now, each term, we've been supporting about 1,200 students, and there's 17 hours of usage per term. So kind of a larger project. Okay, so the content. There are 3 content formats. The normal content, normal pods, are the most basic and easy to understand. These are content pods, VMs, virtual environments that are developed by industry in conjunction with NDG, who is the developer of NetLabs. They make the content, they pass it along to us, and then we just host it for our schools to use. We do not do any custom tooling for it. We don't do any crazy configuration. They give us the content, we host it, and then the students and the classes use it. Easy. Custom content is developed for specific classes or faculty members who request it. It's created either by the faculty member themselves, a third-party developer, or our own in-house team. Here are just some examples of what we've created ourselves and what we have held for our faculty members. And then we have hardware-based content. Right now, this is specific to Cisco CCNA. Basically, we rack and stack tons of switches, routers, et cetera, in different configurations so that students can log into NetLabs, gain access to a pod or cluster of Cisco networking equipment, and then they're actually actively working on said equipment virtually. Okay, so hardware and software, there were a few questions in the Google form just asking what we had, what kind of software and hardware we use. This is basically a list of what we have. If there's any questions on this, I can answer them at a later time, but otherwise, you know, just take a look through. Okay. All right, and then the schedule. Okay, so this is a little bit interesting because we have a ton of work that we need to do in between May and September. I say 20 hours plus, but honestly, that might be a little bit more. And the majority of that is in person because it requires a lot of physical elements. We are doing a logical migration from VMware to Proxmox. For those of you who don't know, VMware got bought out by Broadcom. As a result of that, Broadcom has effectively ended all subsidized discounting and pricing for VMware licensing over to educational institutions, much like ourselves. So I would have had to pay like $80,000 to run VMware in our data set, our tiny data set. So because of that, we are migrating over to Proxmox, which will be supported by NDG and NetLabs. And also because of that, we have to swap over from iSCSI to NFS because Proxmox does not support thin provisioning and snapshotting on iSCSI. Kind of hard to do. We are also going to be decommissioning some of our older equipment and then installing new servers. So we're taking out like 16 servers, 1 SAN, a few switches, and then we're installing some new servers. And then we're doing a network redesign just because Unfortunately, when the previous project leader left, I did not have a lot of hands on deck as well. So I've kind of just been in maintenance mode. And now that we have a little bit more people, hopefully, we can do a network redesign. I just want to clear things up, make things a little bit more efficient and simple. Post-migration, so after September, we're going to be working on automation, custom tooling for Proxmox, asset inventory, documentation, etc. And then the normal cyclical work, which is just every single year, what actually happens. That's content deployment, whether or not it is a normal pod that gets refreshed and renewed or something brand new. Content development for the custom pods, maintenance of all the equipment and software, troubleshooting, and then support tickets. So during the normal cyclical work, a lot of that can be done remotely. Obviously, troubleshooting if there's an actual part failure won't be, but you might not be asked to do that. So a lot of that can be remote. Post-migration as well, a lot of that work, automation, custom tooling, et cetera, that can obviously be done remote as well. But you have the opportunity to come in person to actually work with the hardware. And then during our migration, we are going to need people, in the facilities as well. That's during summer. Hey, so specific requirements for NetLabs, physical computer systems and resources, that's like individual parts. It's nothing super specific. And a lot of you, I assume, have not worked with enterprise-grade equipment, servers, and et cetera. So that's going to be fine. It's just understanding, computer parts or desktop parts. Proficient knowledge of Windows, Linux, non-specific hypervisor knowledge. A lot of you probably have your own custom labs at home labs. Some of you might even be running Proxmox. I know I am because it's free. So that's great. But otherwise, we just need you to have a basic understanding of this. Navigation, configuration, troubleshooting, proficient understanding of network principles. So even if you have not actually implemented any of this on your own, we can still train you on how to do that on specific applications and software that we use. But otherwise, we just want you to have the basic understanding of it. And then virtualization is obviously what we do. A lot of this is VDI essentially. So that's what we expect in terms of knowledge. Practical experience does not need to be anything super formal, but if you know how to build a VM and configure a VM and run said VM and troubleshoot it if you have any issues like at home, then that will be fine. You can read and write. And then the big one is the ability to adapt and learn on the fly. Genuinely, there's not a lot of documentation that we have for a lot of the resources that we are using. So you might have to get creative, do a little bit more Googling, do a little bit more research by yourselves. The possibility of little guidance is there because, again, open source, there's not necessarily a lot of documentation. Any questions specific to NetLabs? Yeah. Yeah. So NetLabs specifically is all going to be in Garden Grove. With the Cyber Patriot one, it might be around OC, just depending on the school, where the school is. For NetLabs specifically, it's going to be a lot of in-person, at least for the first few months during the summer. Obviously, we can work with you on that to find a schedule. But yeah, after that, after the migration is done, once we reestablish all of our remote access, then a lot of it can be done remote. Any other questions?
So this is like a 3-month thing. So
yeah, a little over 3 months, but that's just the migration. That's what our aim is. What's up?
This is like we know it starts school in September.
Yeah, of course.
So
yeah, no, so I'm not expecting you to work full-time hours if you can't. And I don't expect you to come into the office every single day. Again, it's based off of I'm very flexible. Come in 1 or 2 days a week. That's fine by me. We can schedule, tasks in advance and that sort of stuff. Yeah. Okay, so if you are interested, we're hiring 2 or 3 of each position. You can apply for both. If you have enough time to allocate for both, and that's great. It's going to be 19 to 22 hours, dollars per hour, depending. on previous skills and experience. You can email me with any questions as well as your resume. We're going to do an interview and then onboarding through online platform, that sort of basic stuff. A lot of the questions that I got through the form were like, oh, is this going to be good for entry-level position? Is this kind of like an internship? Can a college freshman do this? I would say yes, if you have the relevant like experience by yourself, just studying and testing out things at home or even in clubs. I would argue that this is sort of like an internship, but not super as formal. And when people ask me like, oh, this is a good entry level job, it's entry level, sure, but you gain a lot of experience because you're actually hands-on. Now, obviously, one could say, well, people get paid a lot more to do this in real life as well. And that is true, but unfortunately, one of the aspects of working at public is that I am bound by the grants that we get, and we, it's kind of hard to hire full-time positions to do this, that sort of thing. So, yeah, any questions? No. Cool. All right. I kind of don't see, oh, nothing in chat as well, so that's fine. Okay, so I think this is it for the actual jobs. If you guys were only interested in that, then that's perfectly fine. I had like another little prompt I wanted to do, just like, oh, considering working public sector versus corporate sector, but we don't have to do that. That's fine. I don't know what that is. Might as well. Yeah. Okay, sure. Okay. All right. So just to be transparent, I have obviously worked at the same place for the past 7 years. So I don't have a lot of experience or personal experience working in corporate. And a lot of the experiences that I have heard are from a lot of my friends who do work in corporate. So CrowdStrike, Accenture, etc. Right? A lot of people go into college, or myself including, thinking, oh, I'm going to work for Amazon, I'm going to work for Meta, Google, etc., all the big name companies. And that's fine if you do have that dream, because I also did once think of that. But I just wanted to showcase and remind of like people, public sector still exists, and I'm not saying public sector like even at the high levels like Northrop Grumman, Boeing, and those like massive companies. I know that technically they're corporate, but they work closely with government. So I just wanted to reiterate a few things that I think people have kind of forgotten, especially with the whole craze of, employees or, incoming entry-level positions getting like $200,000 in Silicon Valley as a starting position. So one, in public, you might get a little bit less salary. That is true. Corporate, you're going to start higher salary. But public does have guaranteed salary scaling. Now, what that means is that you are in a ladder. Your ladder starts at a specific salary and it ends at a specific salary. Every single year, you go up a ladder step and your salary increases, and that's guaranteed. COLA is cost of living adjustments. That is based off of what's the word for it? Inflation. So that is determined for who you work for. You'll get COLA as well. So, you're guaranteed basically a salary increase, and you kind of already know what it is because all of this is public knowledge as well. Whereas in corporate, pay raises are dependent on a number of factors, performance, that sort of thing. However, corporate does get stock, so that is nice. Retirement, we get pension. Sometimes I get bored and I look through my pension, and basically if I stick with my current job even, then I'll be making basically the same amount of money that I am doing now when I retire, right? And that's just me like just going through what my current job is and not getting any pay benefits or job upgrades or changes or anything like that. Retirement, you guys, for corporate, will have the 401k or any other program. So there's that. There's a little bit of a difference. And then time off is kind of a big one. I'm forced to take time off. I cannot go over a certain threshold of my vacation hours, whereas corporate has unlimited time off typically, or it's the same way. You have a certain amount of hours that you need to use throughout the year. But obviously, I put unlimited time off in quotes just because some of you might not feel comfortable taking time off. My wife actually is a lawyer. It's her first year, and she's not comfortable taking time off just because one, it's billable hours for her, so technically a bit different, but also just because she does not want to seem like she is slacking in any way for at least the first year. So there's that. And then just a few other things, again, keeping it super short. Work-life balance is a lot better. Everything moves slowly in public, which is a benefit to the employees, but also could be a negative, just depending on how fast you need to get stuff done. Job security. Right now, the markets are pretty bad. Economy is kind of tanking right now. I have pretty good job security. I don't know if this applies to most other positions, but I would assume so for at least for education in California. Basically, when I get hired or when I got hired, I cannot lose my job. Now that sounds a little bit weird because my job is grant funded. Technically, if I lose all my grant funds from the state and federal level, then I can't work on the same projects that I'm working on right now. But what that does mean is that in the worst case that happens, my college district has to find another job within the college or district for me to take. So I am essentially never going to get laid off unless I do something really bad, in which case that'd be a fine. Benefits are good. Obviously, public sector kind of takes care more of the individuals. And then I have a union at least. The negatives, bureaucracy, a lot of stuff needs to go through different entities and different managers, different departments to get approved. And you have to navigate all the politics there. Promotions are kind of hard because it is hard to move from one position to another, but it is what it is. And there are less positions overall because there's not as many, we don't hire at the rate that corporate does. That's just in general. Again, I just wanted to keep this short. It's not really that important, but I wanted to give kind of a look into what public looks like, at least because a lot of your speakers definitely are coming from big companies, IBM, et cetera. I looked at the Tech Symposium speaker list. And that's great. If you want to challenge or if you want to rise up to that, that's great. But there are still plenty of positions that are open in the public sector. That's my spiel. All right. I think that's it for me. Yeah.
Okay if I download the, is it okay if I like post the slides? Okay. Okay. You guys have any questions?
What's up?
Do you have a question?
Did you say read and write?
Pictures are great too, actually. Yeah.
Why did you choose to go work in the public sector?
Okay, so this is kind of a more personal thing, but basically when okay, to be transparent, I am not a US citizen. I am allowed to live in the US for as long as I want. I cannot be deported, yada, yada, yada. But that means that I do not qualify for a lot of different corporate positions that require work in cybersecurity because you guys work with the government so much, right? So because of that as well, I thought I was going to get a full ride scholarship or FAFSA at least going into Cal Poly, and that's what I believed. And then literally, I applied, got in, they said they would give it to me. I started, and then they're like, hey, you know what? No, you don't get that. And actually, you have to pay international tuition. So when I started at Cal Poly, I was paying international tuition about 16 grand per semester, let's just say. So I had to find a job, and I had to find a job fast. So when Professor Toby West here found out that I had worked in cyber or participated in Cyber Patriot, kind of jumped on that, got the full-time job, paid my way through college, and stuck there ever since. Now, again, I also tried to go into corporate. I had job interviews with CrowdStrike, IBM, a few other entities. CrowdStrike, I was actually my goal, and I got extremely close. Basically, they were ready to give me a position, and we're just going to discuss my compensation. And then they realized, wait, we're going to shift more towards government projects and government, anything with like government funds, and that requires the employees to be a U.S. citizen and have what's the word for it? Work author. Well, no, it's not work authorization because I have that. It's security clearance. There you go. Yeah, and I couldn't get that. So they're like, you know what? We're not going to keep you on the team because then we'd have to shuffle you around as needed. And I get it. But yeah, that's where I am.
Okay, that's why I get.
I have no path to becoming a citizen, actually, other than getting married to a US citizen and or joining the military, which I really did not want to do. That being said, I just got married recently, so there's that. Thank you. But yeah, that's kind of my life story. That being said, I mean, I started doing cybersecurity in like middle school and freshman year of high school. And when I started going to Cal Poly, I was like, oh, I'm going to be, regional network administrator for Amazon or whatever, making $200,000, $300,000 a year. That would have been great. I might have been able to do that, but life takes you a certain way and you just roll with the punches and make the most of it. And I would say I'm happy now. I make 6 figures a year, over 6 figures a year. I know how much money I'm going to be making in the next few years because I have not reached my full salary cap. Ever since I got leadership of the position, I've been fighting to get a reassignment. I'm going to make more money once that reassignment goes through. And then, like I said, I know how much money I'm making in pension if I just stay with my current job. Well, if like the 401k, sure, but like you don't actually know. Like if the markets just tank completely, that money might be there, but that money might not be. Depends. But I know how much money I'm making when I'm retired. It's a certain level of like stability that I enjoy in safety net for those of you who are kind of interested in that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm open to just answer any other questions about my life or my decisions. Yeah, no problem.
Do you think that since you're talking about job security a lot, is that like the most enticing benefit for you, or is it the pension?
Let's see. I would say job security is a really big one, especially because I have friends who got fired from VMware once they got bought out by Broadcom. So things like that really do put kind of like light in your eyes, like, oh, I do have a decent position. Pension is nice as well. But yeah, I think aside from just that, it's a culmination of everything. My work-life balance is pretty great, honestly. I am not officially a manager, but I lead a team of people. I mean, I'm kind of like hiring for that group right now. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but Brian Hernandez, he graduated like 2 or 3 years ago, I think 2 years ago. He used to work for me, and now he's working down in San Diego. But yeah, no, my life is like moderately easy in the sense that I know what I'm doing. I have daily tasks, and I just do what I need to do, and I get work done, and I call it a day. I go home, I play games, I snowboard, I cook, whatever, photography, live my life like a normal person. Yeah, I don't ever think around the clock, oh, I'm gonna get fired, oh, I need to worry about this, oh, I should get that done, oh, I need to, show up to my boss to get a pay raise or whatever, anything like that. It's very stable. Which one am I most passionate about? I would say honestly, both of them. One, because the Cyber Patriot program is a great way to do outreach, and you really do feel like you're helping the community as well as all of the new high school students and middle school students who are still just trying to figure out what they want to do in life. Like, oh, I'm interested in computers. Well, why don't we go this route? Try this out. For NetLabs as well, that is the kind of work I enjoy doing. So since it's admin, DevOps, that sort of stuff, I kind of do enjoy working on that. And then especially just like having to be flexible with what I learn and learn new concepts all the time, just because, oh, a faculty member wants to introduce, this like AI into incident response. Well, I've never done that. I have to do that and figure that out. So I get to learn new things basically every few weeks, every few months, and yeah, it's exciting. Plus, it's also another way to give back to the community in the sense that it's like I was saying, it's an equal platform. So no matter what device you use, any student can have the opportunity to learn hands-on.
You get a lot of creative liberty around if you get to, yeah.
I get a lot of creative liberty on the back end because I get to fully decide, what software we use in terms of performance metrics and like automation. In terms of like creative liberty for custom content that the students will actually use, that's fully dependent on what the faculty requests, right? But I can make adjustments, I can make contributions, recommendations, that sort of thing. I try not to. I don't think I do. Just because, I mean, if someone needs to learn forensics on like FTK, then I'm not gonna like be like, oh, you know what? Why don't you try NCase? And keep in mind, like FTK and NCase, you have to pay for it. So I'm not gonna waste money like that. But yeah.
So I guess when you choose software, is it just like the one that you're mostly have a lot of experience in and have a lot of experience teaching, or is it like you're contributing to people that you have?
A little bit of both, but primarily I would say, yeah, I focus on the content or the software that I am experienced in. Just one thing with like newer emerging content is like there's not a lot of people actively writing, supporting documentation for it. So it's kind of hard to go that route in general. Exactly. Yeah. I can't teach a student something that has not been fully developed, if that makes sense.
So also like because you don't really know if it's the next thing.
Exactly. I don't know what's going to get dropped and what's going to stay. No problem. Thank you.
Just a minor question. I'm just looking at like what time they're planning on setting, like how soon are you planning on getting interviews set up with people?
In the coming 2 weeks.
Coming 2 weeks?
Yeah. Like I said, the migration project starts for us technically mid-May. So we have like about a month and a half to onboard you.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, public takes time, so I'm trying to do this super proactively. And so just email me. We'll set up a time to do an interview. It's more than likely going to be online, unless you can somehow make it down to Garden Grove in person. In which case I can give you the tour as well of the data center. That's no, so the job is ongoing. May to September is just, sorry, I should have like specified a little bit more, but May to September is when I foresee the most amount of effort and labor and man hours being put into the project, just because we are going through that migration. But after September, there's still like day-to-day or week-to-week tasks that need to get done. And then there's also room for improvements, obviously. So that will be the ongoing work going forward. We like to do our maintenance typically during off hours. So that's like summer in between terms, as well as the winter maintenance period, which is in like late December. Obviously, we're not gonna well, that's gonna be a discussion like once you actually join, but I don't expect people to stay during the winter maintenance period just because that's like holiday season.
And you mentioned that like at your job, there's a lot of learning opportunities. Do you feel like it's enough? Or do you feel like you could do more?
Okay, so is it enough? I think so. It's gonna feel weird to say this because a lot of people might think like, oh, maybe you've just gotten stagnant at your job, right? And I know a lot of students or a lot of people who are brand new, or even people who are in like their mid level positions are like, oh, have I become stagnant and essentially complacent in terms of like learning new material and trying to get a leg up and maybe shift companies. Well, in corporate, you might think that, and you definitely should like keep re-upping your education when you're in corporate, just so you can bounce around and get like higher positions, pay raises, etc. If that's what you want. But for me, I already know that I'm probably going to end my life at this position if possible, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So what materials and what projects I get nowadays is for the most part enough. Am I sad that I don't know machine learning and AI? A little bit, just because it is a little bit interesting, but also, do I need to? Not necessarily. Like I have grown to realize that life does not revolve around work or should not revolve around work. If you genuinely think something is interesting, then definitely do it and learn it. But otherwise, focus on yourself if possible. Take the time for yourself.
I agree.
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys. I hope to hear from you all. Whoever's.
And then I'll also post the slides on the link tree. Yeah. All right. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much.